Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to Chapter 9 of my Fire Emblem 6 Low Town Count playthrough. Chapter 9 is the first map to introduce Fog of War into this game. Fog of War maps are usually pretty annoying because you will have a harder time seeing the enemies that will come after you, and therefore make it harder to plan out and prepare. However, for our run, it allows us to use the Torch Staff every turn we stall, so we can keep some uses on the Barrier Staff that is already only at 4 uses left. The chapter also allows you to choose between two routes depending on which village is visited on the top right. Since we don't have time to visit any, we'll default to the route commonly called A route, which is the fastest one anyway. There is also 2 units to recruit on this map. Fear, a low-level Myrmidon with a really nice Fodao, and Shin, a nomad who counts for the route split between Ilya and Sake. They can be recruited with Noah and Sue respectively. Considering this is an LTC, we can only afford to recruit one of the two, and whoever will recruit will get more XP than the other. Obviously, since we want to go to Sake, Jin being a better unit overall, we'll go for him over Fear. The big idea is that we will transport Sue so she ends just in range of Shin on turn 4 to recruit him, as we kill the boss at Seas. Shanna, thanks to her flying ability, is able to cruise through the map real fast, so she'll do that on the first 2 turns. Since we only have one flyer, we need to set up a rescue chain to bring Roy to the throne with every other mounted unit. We have 2 more rooms to XP units in our army, so we'll deploy Lina and fully get to bring Wendy as well, who will be fed a secret room right off the bat for 1 extra crit point. The first enemy phase poses no threat, as Shanna, even equipped with a javelin and carrying Sue, has no chance to die because of her incredible defense. We did have to burn 336 random numbers for our level up, which ends up being everything but defense. Shanna's hit rate, however, is pretty shaky since she is carrying Sue, and we need her to hit every enemies, which is only doable if Marcus is equipped with a javelin, as he burns 2 more random numbers by missing his counterattack. Wendy will get her first kill on the run with a 1% crit on the pirate that Lilina weakened earlier. You might have noticed that Marcus rescued Zealot on turn 1. That is because the rescue chain we're trying to set up needs us to be 1 tile ahead than normally possible in order to recruit Shin. That's right, the Paladin's coach is back! And we just dropped Zealot on the bridge. Lilina will weaken the next pirate that Wendy needs to kill and gets a perfect level up out of it. Wade will then rescue Roy to prepare for the rescue chain, and Noah and Drake will bring Lilina forward so she can get the XP on the middle island on next turn. Meanwhile, Sue was dropped in range for the rescue chain, and we place Shanna on the river at the top so she can get some more kills. The next enemy phase didn't require us to do anything, despite a few events having low odds of happening. We need Marcus to hit a 70% hit on the fighter that attacks him to clear the way, and a good level up on Sue, which it does get. She's now level 9, and thus really close to being able to promote, which means we would have another 8 move unit, and considering the levels she got until now, a very solid unit with access to both 1 and 2 range weapons. We also need Shanna to hit a 7% crit on at least one of the enemies she will face on this turn to save a use on her javelin, as that way it will be at exactly 2 uses left for next chapter. She does face a chance of death because of the 2 archers, as they both have 50% hit rate, but we got lucky and dodged a bullet, or rather the arrow. Turn 3 is finally time to do the big rescue chain we talked about earlier. But first, we need Wendy to level up on the fighter. Before that, we need to weaken the pirate again, because Lina's ship damage earlier wasn't enough for Wendy to get the kill, which is why we brought Volt with us. Wendy will then hit her 60% displayed hit on the pirate and gets an HP, strength and skill level up, though we only really needed strength and skill. The rescue chain can now begin. Wade gives Roy to Noah, Noah gives to Zealot, Zealot gives to Sue, and Sue finally gives Roy to Shanna, who drops him in range to seize with a killing edge of it. While we did that, Lina was dropped in the middle of the island to kill the 2 remaining fighters. While all of this happened, Soul was just happily spamming Torch, getting a little bit more EXP and staff rank. This enemy phase, we need 2 crits on the 2 enemies that will attack Roy, which is made easy thanks to the Killing Edge, since it gives Roy 32% crit on both. Roy will also get a level here, the first one's in Chapter 8, and since I got way better levels then, I can go for the first one I get as opposed to a perfect one, which ended up as HP, skill, luck, and res. Roy still has different stats compared to Bean Crash, but it is pretty negligible at this point, considering it's only plus 1 HP, plus 2 skill, plus 1 luck, and minus 1 res. Now that this is all done, we can just clean up. Tsuyu has just enough movement to recruit Shin, who attacked Roy last turn. Shin is generally a better unit than Tsuyu simply because it joins at a higher level, but since it didn't get all the turns Tsuyu had in Chapter 8 and 8X to get the XP, he is worse than her in every way, so still a very solid mounted archer. Leelina will kill the last fighter alive after Marcus weakens him a bit, getting yet another perfect level, 897 random numbers away. In order to kill the boss, we need a double 9% crit with Shanna and her Slim Lens, and since she levels up, we also want a good one, which was 2416 random numbers away. He's pretty scary to fight too, since he has 48% crit rate, but hey, he also only has 33% displayed hit because Shanna is godlike. Finally, Shin can get an easy kill on the archer with a 10% crit for a little bit of EXP before Roy can seize, finishing the chapter in 4 turns. See you next time for chapter 10.